It was supposed to be the perfect summer vacation. No parents, no rules, just fun and freedom. But what awaited Emily and Ethan was something far darker than they could ever imagine. It happened back in 1996. Emily, who was 18 years old, and her 14-year-old younger brother Ethan was super excited for that summer break. Because that year, after nearly 8 years, they were going to visit their grandpa and grandma. Their grandparents lived in a small village, in an old farmhouse surrounded by fields. This was the first time they were traveling without their parents. After a long journey, their train stopped at the village station. Only the two of them got off. As soon as they stepped down, they saw their grandpa and grandma and ran towards them, carrying their bags. Their grandparents looked exactly like they remembered them, only a bit weaker now. The sun was blazing and it was sweltering hot, yet their grandpa and grandma were wrapped in shawls. Their eyes had a strange emptiness. There was a smile on their faces, but it seemed fake. Still, Emily and Ethan didn't pay much attention to these odd details. They were just happy to meet their grandparents. Grandpa and Grandma started walking towards their car, and during the whole ride, Emily and Ethan kept excitedly sharing their train journey stories. Their grandparents didn't say much, only nodded along and kept glancing at them through the rearview mirror. About an hour's drive from the station, they reached the farmhouse. It was large, but very old. Yellowing walls and wild grass all around made it seem like no one took care of the place. There were no other houses in sight for miles. Night had already fallen, and everything around was pitch dark. On the veranda stood an old rocking chair that moved slightly even without wind. Ethan joked, "This is exactly the kind of place where horror movies are shot," and both siblings laughed. Inside the house, everything looked antique. Black and white photographs, wooden furniture, and a weird smell, like something rotting. When they grimaced at the smell, Grandma smiled and said, "It's the smell of cow dung, coming from the fields." Then she went into the kitchen, and Grandpa showed them their room, telling them to come for dinner later. Their room was quite big, but from the window they could see only darkness and tall grass. After a while, Grandma called them for dinner. Grandpa and Grandma sat at the dining table with them, but didn't eat anything. All they kept repeating was how happy they were to have the kids there. At first it seemed odd to the children, but after 8 years, maybe their grandparents missed them a lot. After dinner, Emily and Ethan went to their room. After some time, Grandpa came in, wished them good night, turned off the lights and said, "Many animals make noises at night around here. Don't be afraid, and don't step outside the room." Then he left. Exhausted kids fell asleep without realizing it. The next 2 days passed normally. Every morning their grandparents would wake them up, and Emily spent most of her time sketching by the window. All she could see outside were trees, exactly the same kind. Ethan wandered around the house or sat on an old swing in the backyard, listening to songs on his Walkman. Grandpa and Grandma left every afternoon, saying they were going to work in the fields and returned only at night. There was a landline phone in the house, but it was broken, so they couldn't even call their parents. There were some strange little things too. Like their grandparents never ate with them. Always some excuse, and they just sat there at the dining table. Once Ethan noticed the refrigerator was open, with only a large pot inside, filled with a thick red liquid. When he asked, Grandma just said it was an old family recipe, and laughed loudly. Often Grandma would suddenly start laughing for no reason, and Grandpa would sit for hours staring at something in front of him. Both Emily and Ethan thought it was just signs of old age. That night, Emily woke up to a noise outside the door. A large shadow passed beneath the door for just a second. Forgetting Grandpa's warning, she quietly tiptoed to the door and slowly opened it. The strange, foul smell became stronger. It was dark, but she could hear something moving inside. It didn't sound like an animal. It was something else. Before Emily could get closer or understand what it was, someone placed a hand on her shoulder, and she let out a scream. It was Grandma. Her face still held that eerie fake smile, and it had turned pale. She told Emily to go back to sleep. Terrified, Emily quietly went back to her room, but couldn't fall asleep. A growing sense of unease took over her. The next morning, Grandpa and Grandma came to their room. Their faces looked completely normal. As usual, they said breakfast was ready in the kitchen and that they were going to the fields. As soon as Emily heard the main door close, she sighed in relief. That afternoon, Ethan was sitting on the swing doing his holiday homework when he heard the sound of children playing from inside the house. He peeked through the back window and saw a small boy's shadow. Ethan thought maybe they had some guests. But when he went inside, no one was there except Emily. He searched the whole house for the boy, and then his eyes landed on a black and white photo in the living room, a large picture of their grandparents. But blood was streaming from their eyes. Ethan got scared and quickly showed the photo to Emily. However, the photo looked completely normal now. Emily also shared the strange incident from last night. Their hands and feet turned ice cold. What was happening in that house? The house had 3 rooms in total. Their grandparents' room was on the first floor and always kept locked. The awful smell seemed to be coming from that room. Somehow, they found a key on the keychain and unlocked the door. As soon as they opened it, the stench hit them hard. On the bed lay 2 decaying bodies. Covering their faces, they moved closer, and Emily saw that one body wore the exact same locket as their grandma. Emily's knees trembled. She realized that these corpses were their grandparents. But if these were their grandparents' bodies, who were the people they were living with? But that was just the beginning. What they saw next was far more terrifying. Want to know what happened? Don't miss part 2.